Political commentator and author Deneen Borelli is out with a new book entitled Blacklash: How Obama and the Left Are Driving Americans to the Government Plantation. Ms. Borelli is a fellow with Project 21, that's a network of black conservatives. She's also a fellow with the conservative nonprofit group Freedom Works. Welcome to Newsmax and congratulations on the book, Deneen.
Thank you very much.
Please explain what you mean by the term government plantation.
Well, when I talk about government plantation, really I talk about the enslavement of Americans who are essentially beholden to the government because the policies are failing our country. When you look at Obamacare, for example, you look at the debt that our country is faced with, over $15 trillion of debt. You know, these policies and these programs are harmful to our country. It's not going to grow the economy when you spend that kind of money, and it's certainly not going to allow individuals to be free, when you talk about Obamacare, for example, to make the choices that they need to make that are best for them and their family when it comes to health care. So when I talk about enslavement, it's how government is mandating certain policies and initiatives that limit our liberties.
Please define the word blacklash.
Well, Blacklash is a title of my book, and I have several terms to fit with that title. First of all, I think there's going to be a significant backlash from the American people because of the size and scope of government that we are currently under right now with President Obama. The spending and the debt is just absolutely unbelievable. And it's harming our economy, it's harming Americans. And when I talk about blacklash, I see there is a growth of black conservatives who are speaking out and stepping up and being very vocal about how they are feeling about the expansion of government. There are a number of black conservatives who have gotten involved in politics. For example, in 2008, there were over 30 blacks who were running for office. And when you look at who's in office now, Allen West, Tim Scott, you have Mia Love, who's running for Congress in Utah. So there are more blacks who are being vocal, being leaders, and not afraid to be a conservative and let people know about it.
You argue that President Obama's policy overreach has frozen racial tensions in this country when he should have been thawing them. Please briefly discuss that.
Well, when I mention Obama is thawing race relations in our country, when you look at what happened, for example, during the 2008 presidential election, when you had the new Black Panther Party members in Philadelphia who were intimidating voters in Philadelphia, we have video proof of this intimidation. But what happened? The Department of Justice refused to bring charges against those individuals, so they essentially got away with it. Another example is how President Obama is all of a sudden working with Al Sharpton when it comes to immigration in Arizona. Obama wanted nothing to do with Al Sharpton when he was running for president. So I think there are a number of examples where Obama has not done a good job when it comes to race relations in our country.
You note that 95% of blacks voted for Obama in 2008. Deneen, do you have any reason to believe that they won't do the same again this year?
Well, when you look at unemployment in the black community, nationally it went down some, but in the black community, unemployment is actually over 15%. Among black teens, it's approaching 40%. I mean, those are really outrageous numbers. And again, this goes back to President Obama's policies. Not too long ago, President Obama said to the black community, stop moaning, stop groaning, take off your bedroom slippers and march with me. Those are not presidential terms to be telling the American people who are hurting, who are on unemployment, who are trying to make ends meet. We have over 46 million Americans on food stamps today. What we need is someone who is going to be a true leader, cut spending, cut taxes, cut regulations. That is what will grow the economy, not telling the American people, especially the black community, to march with me and take off your bedroom slippers. I find that very condescending.
You make the point that Obama's defenders are quick to play the race card whenever someone criticizes his left-wing agenda. How do you deal with that?
Well, if you read in my book how I have been targeted and criticized by the liberal left who paints me out as a racist, for example, figure that I'm a black who is a racist because of Obama's policies. Listen, people need to be vocal of what they feel and what they believe. But when you have the liberal left comes out to play the race card, what they're trying to do is stifle debate. They are trying to shut down independent thought. The moment someone strays from the liberal left's ideology plantation of big government, you will be made an example of. And that is something that I have been experiencing for the last several years. I've been called all kinds of names in the book, and they are in my book. And it's token, it's traitor, sellout, and names that I can't even mention on this program. But it's not going to stop me. It's not going to keep me from speaking out. And what I really hope with Blacklash is that all Americans, white, black, otherwise, will speak the truth, hold true to their principles, and not allow someone to criticize them and stifle their independent thought simply because they disagree with the President of the United States.
One chapter in your book is entitled Green Liberal Lies. We now are looking at what may become the highest gasoline prices in the history of our country. There's no doubt those two are intertwined, right?
Well, sadly, we are facing high gasoline prices in our country, but when you think about it, this is all under President Obama's watch. And before he was president, he said part of his energy plan would have energy costs necessarily skyrocket. That makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. And, sadly, his promise is coming true. We are faced with high utility prices because we've had over 50 utility power plants, coal-fired power plants, that have either shut down already or will be shutting down because of the EPA regulations that have been unleashed on the coal industry. Obama has a problem with fossil fuels. That's coal, oil, and natural gas. He prefers renewable sources of energy such as wind and solar. But when you think about it, look at the facts. Over 85% of our economy runs on fossil fuels. It's reliable, it's plentiful, and they are affordable. There isn't another product or source of energy that can replace that 85 demand of energy that our country is currently calling for. But sadly, we have a president that has a war on fossil fuels. He is trying to prop up the renewable sources of energy industry by wasting our tax dollars, and that is driving up the cost of fossil fuels, which is harming poor households, low-income households, and is killing our economy.
And finally, in retrospect, was Herman Cain treated unfairly by the media and his critics?
Well, one thing I can say about Herman Cain is that we are still waiting for the proof of the accusations from these women. I totally think he was treated unfairly by the media. It was totally biased reporting that was launched against Herman Cain, who was an entrepreneur, a small businessman. He turned companies around, and he was a conservative and someone who loved the country, loved liberty. But unfortunately, when he started to gain in the polls, that's when the onslaught of attacks came out. These women came out of the woodworks. But again, we didn't have concrete proof that any of these things happened, that really happened. There wasn't real proof. And so I do think that was a real misadvantage and missed opportunity for Americans to have had the opportunity to perhaps look at more of what Herman Cain had to offer for our country should he have gone into the general election.
He certainly did open the dialogue on tax reform, though, didn't he?
Yes, he certainly did. That is one thing our country sorely needs is tax reform, because that is what companies and businesses need, tax reform. Individuals need to pay lower taxes. I say we should look at a flat tax for our country. That way everyone has skin in the game, and then you're not criticizing and demonizing one class of individuals against another class of individuals.
Again, the name of the book, Blacklash, How Obama and the Left Are Driving Americans to the Government Plantation. Deneen Borelli, good luck with the book, and thank you for sharing your thoughts here with us.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.